Hey. This is Individual Perspective Podcast. I am your host, Daris D. McKinney. And yes, just been a trying couple days and everything. Pretty much trying 4 or 5 months. It's been really brutal, but I told myself, no matter what the issues we had yesterday, focus. You cannot let the enemy have the narrative. And even though I can kind of move forward and not talk about Michelle Obama, you gotta do it. You gotta put her in perspective, because history would not have her in perspective. And if you could ever contribute anything to life, put her ass in perspective. Okay? And it's frustrating. It's very high contentious situation to even have to deal with the narrative and how corrupt our system is and how demonic and evil and manipulating people that would be Black Americans' heroes are. And they do it with so much emotion and so much passion. But if you actually know what they're talking about, if you actually know what the truth is, and you actually know the historical evidence and facts of whatever they have coming out of their mouth and what was really communicated and what's the real situation, then you know how disrespectful and how ridiculous they are and how much they're lying to you and how divisive they are, truly. You know, it's like I'm not gonna lie, Democrats and liberals in the media, man, when they put like $3 to $4 billion behind gaslighting for the last year and a half since that January 6th stuff, and they kind of put the mission to gaslight to like put the perception of something going on that they actually manufactured, and they're charging you with things that they're doing and how they are and how they're perceived by society, and that you're not perceived that way. They actually put things in motion through the culture, through the interactions, through propaganda, through espionage tactics. They doing stuff to us in order for us to actually perceive what they're doing as what Trump supporters and Trump is doing. So if George Floyd situation and Michael Brown and Trayvon Martin's riots and the contentious situation that has a separation or a divide in perception on what how that situations and how those situations occurred and what's the situations involved with those three social unrest that was going on, and that we had criminal delinquents, we had Antifa, we had extreme radical progressive liberals out there burning up stuff, killing people, committing crimes, showing degenerate, destructive behavior to do what the most number one agenda it is, from President Obama all the way down to AOC. And what are those people trying to do in between? They're trying to restructure, recreate America. And we're in a way with our individuality, our wanted to level up and us to become, we want to capitalize in our own entrepreneur spirit and stuff. And while we're trying to do that, we're trying to keep civilization going enough to thrive in a cohesive environment, and that's in the way of total domination of the Constitution, in the way of capitalism and the patriotic system and masculinity. Is all in the way. So that's got to get destroyed, and we're trying to be civilized about this, but effective of where we at right now, there's no trying to be civilized with this stuff. It's all out warfare right now. You get what I'm saying? And that's politically, and any other way that we have to take it, because they're taking it there. They're not just leaving it as verbal conversations. They're putting people in jail. They're prosecuting people. They're actually, like getting indictments and subpoenas and all kind of stuff that they're doing to destroy their opposition. It's not in conversation no more. It's not a verbal conversation no more. So we're looking at this presidency and we're looking at this 2024 election, but effective of yesterday, you got liberals burning ballot boxes, like literally thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of votes and ballots that are in the drop-off ballot boxes. Liberals are going up and burning it up. Republicans ain't doing that. Liberals are. And how do you know that it's liberals? It's happening in the most liberal environments. It's happening in Oregon. It's happening in Washington State. Oregon and Washington State, what the hell do liberals have to burn up their own ballots for? They're burning up people pissed about the radical stuff that's been going on in Washington State. They're pissed about stuff that's been going on in Portland, Oregon. That's what's going on. And you got voters actually voting against like what people perceive that it's going to be a liberal vote. And you got a lot of citizens in Portland and Oregon that's voting against the actual liberal stuff that they had to go through with occupied camps from liberals and stuff in the downtown area, then burning down courthouses and stuff like that. And you got liberals actually voting for Trump. And for some reason, that communication or whatever data that they're collecting in Oregon is showing them that. Okay? Yeah, I think I'm getting flagged, dude. Something's going on. I'm really getting flagged. My internet is getting flagged like crazy. I can't keep a good bandwidth. Ain't nothing going on. Ain't no internet been used but this stream through the whole place. So that just tells me that we got an issue. I got an issue with the is it YouTube throttling my internet or what? And I ain't got time to wait. I got to try to do this podcast and try to get through this the best I can. And that's why I couldn't do the podcast for the last couple of days, because I was getting some wild throttling and I didn't know what it was. Don't even understand how it's going and stuff. Correct. GOP group of picture size. What was it? Okay, I'm just reading some information that they're giving me to tell me what's going on, but I think it's something totally different than what they're giving me. Yeah, I can't tell you what it is. It's pretty weird to me. Okay. Yeah, boy. So, yeah, like what I'm saying is pretty wild, and it's it's a handful, but I don't know why it's like why I'm having a heavy a heavy CPU usage. That's my computer. You know, that's got nothing to do with the bandwidth. But then when I look at everything in here, it's pretty wild. Wild stuff. Let me check and see what's going on here. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that, guys. I'm having a difficult here with my bandwidth. And I really want to knock these. I got a few episodes I need to knock out, but I can't even do that if I'm not going to get the proper bandwidth. And you see how my buffering is? That's not good. That's too aggressive, you know? And my bandwidth is going all the way down. All the way down. So, okay, so let's see. Sorry about that, guys. I know I'm working on this. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna start playing the video. Let's go into her conversation. Let's see how that works out.
Lip off. We want to take you to Kalamazoo, Michigan. You see it there. Former First Lady Michelle Obama is about to speak and introduce Vice President Kamala Harris at a rally there. You see her working the crowd. Her husband, former President Barack Obama, was with the Vice President on the trail just 2 days ago. Let's listen in to what Michelle Obama has to say.
Oh, my God.
In Michigan, you see.
Get some control over the.
I like it. But let me start. Especially for our folks standing here in the mosh pit. Hang on there. I love you. Well, let me just start by saying hello, Kalamazoo. Or should I say Kamalazoo? Who is ready to elect the next president of the United States, Kamala Harris? Start, of course, by thanking Hallie for everything she's done to get out the vote here in Michigan. But most of all, I want to thank all of you because, 100 years old, no. Oh, my goodness. You look amazing. I bow down. Doesn't it feel good to be together? I mean, it feels so good. I haven't done this in such a long time. It feels good to see how strong.
Well, that's a lie. She just did it for the DNC convention, remember? That was maybe a month or two ago, you know. So look, and I'm not here to like knick-knack, but that's what they're doing, and that's the game and the level that they're playing. And the fake connection is so terrible, and that's how much elitist the Obamas are, that they don't even know how to relate to us no more. It's just very, oh my God, 100 years old, I bow to you. Oh my God, oh amazing, love you guys. The people in the mosh pit, and it's like it's so disingenuous, okay? And it's just like it's such a separation from the plight of who you're engaging with, and the possibility of the policies and the ideological point of view you guys have, and how much that affects the people that's in front of you. Your thing is, we don't care about that. We have feelings and we have emotions and we want things to go this way because we're really feeling it. It's crazy. Wild stuff. It is just emotional, and it's just, this is why. And I'll say this, and they always talk about misogyny and stuff like that. I don't want women to lead men. You know what I mean? For two reasons. One is history has shown it ain't good. Okay? It ain't good if you have a compliance men and manhood and males and men of societies being compliant to the needs and the wants of women in the world, in the work world, in the productivity world, in the protection world. It's like you almost gotta never have in mind what women thinks it is to protect a neighborhood, to protect a country, to protect a state, but to protect a individual. You never want to protect anything in the mindset of what women thinks the posture and the mindset should be to protect. And men like me, coming from the baby boomers, the Generation X and the millennials, we felt to shed ourselves of era thinking. And we allowed the input of family and productivity and advancement in life and strategy and the most common denominator execution thought process of two people coming together. We allow women to have such a voice in that we subdued ourselves. We kind of almost had to dilute our input, our mindset, our determination, because we had to include women in the thought process of it in order for inclusion. Like I said, morals and values get destroyed with the complementariness of, or being complementary to, inclusivity. I'll say that again. Because I know that's a hard one. Dominance and execution and things that are kind of common sense, and it's just biologically and mentally and strategically accurate. You get what I'm saying? That gets destroyed. And like I said, what is those things? Those are morals and values. You get what I'm saying? When you learn what morals are, you learn it from the Bible. You learn it from. I know a lot of you guys are not supporting the Bible these days and religion and Christianity. I'm just using it as an example. Religion, and no matter what kind of religion it is something in our society or some kind of like story or philosophical belief or something to kind of guide us in some way to be civilized. Okay? So when you throw the stability and the structure of that morality and the values of the civilization and what's just learned behavior because of trials and errors, and you got thousands of years of consistent morals, consistent values, and then you throw them all away for inclusivity of the most random, wow, like spontaneous interactions or beliefs or habits or experiences and stuff like that. You destroy morals and values. You destroy morals and values for inclusivity. Okay? And so I can clip that right. I just want to say it the right way. You destroy morality and values when you have to implement inclusivity. See? I'm messing up. You destroy morals and values when you have to implement inclusivity. Okay? So when you have to include different sexual orientations, different relationships and stuff like that, meaning like unmarried couples, you get what I'm saying? People that have been together forever, but they're not married. When you like, even if they have some kind of relationship like a married couple, even if that's good and healthy, it's still destructive because it's a lot of rules, a lot of things that you should subconsciously implement in the traditional or the value of that relationships and the progress of that relationship by not being traditionally married or something like that. You bring in another level of values and morality, but it's not the values and morality that's stable and has been learnt. Traditional values that actually worked and moralities that actually worked, that you're implementing this new way of relationships and long-term relationships. So now you have to include that into the aura of relationships and people, like, you know, being in the same household and sleeping with each other and all that crazy stuff like that. You break a lot of the stability of what men and women are supposed to do with each other. You know what I mean? And additionally, for us to give more inclusivity to the LGBTQIA plus community, in order for us to have an inclusivity to the way that people live their life and the choices that they make with their relationships and stuff like that, to be civilized and live in a civilized environment, and not have hate and wild and radical stuff going on, you have to destroy foundation morals. You have to destroy foundation values because it's a contradiction. It's a hypocrisy to it. So most people don't understand it, but they kind of feel it and they kind of have some kind of interaction with the hypocrisy of the contradictions, and it makes a dysfunctionality breed in between all of us, everybody. So in order to have inclusivity to the different lifestyles, the different psychologically thought process and rules and values and morals that other people with other situations have, you can't have the stable, structural, longevity, proven morals and proven value structure in this new inclusivity world. You can't. Okay, and I know that may bug somebody to how I'm explaining this, but it's such a heavy thing to try to communicate that I'm trying to make sure that I communicate it right and that it's presented right, because it's a very big conversation. And that's the difference. That's because I think we are all passive aggressive with each other now. We're not just straight. No need to be passive aggressive with a person that you're just doing business with. There's no need to do passive aggressive to a person that you have a direction of what you want to accomplish or what you want to do, but you have to be compliant to try to be inclusive to this other person's mindset. They're the weaker of you. You shouldn't be submitting to them. So we spent 40, 50 years trying to figure out the best way to be civilized with each other, when sometimes we needed to put each other in our place. We needed to analyze the mindset of each other. That's why I always say we have a destroyed country and destroy humanity because 6 o'clock dinners are not had anymore. You're not at the dinner table with your family at 6 o'clock and the kid or the daughter says something stupid and something that's illogical, and the mindset that's illogical, and the father and the mother don't pinpoint that down. Hey, explain that to me. What did you just say? Okay, how did you say that? Okay, that don't make sense. And then in that discussion and that bantering and that what they call the sclerotic method at the dinner table, you don't have that anymore. So you have people with their own thought process, their own ideology, their own factual truths, my truth, which your truth is irrelevant. What is the truth? You get what I'm saying? So when you start to include everybody's thought process as valid, it has some validity to it, then you don't have no structure to what's the truth is and what's the facts are and what's right and what's wrong, because you'll find you have a everything goes society. So if an everything goes society is an inclusivity of people, so we can have a civilized world and we won't be fighting each other or hating each other or doing stupid stuff to each other that may bring harm to another person's constitutional liberty. In order for us to not have this going on a rapid basis, we have to be inclusive. Excuse me. And in order to be inclusive, you have to allow things that don't make logical sense to how humans conduct themselves and how they interact. In order to allow things that don't have accuracy or logic to it, you have to destroy knowing what's logical and what has structure to it. And that makes you have to dilute and degrade your morality and your values, because that's where your logic comes from. So that's the kind of world we have. So when you see people like Michelle Obama and them, they talk about this values and stuff like that, I want you to understand they have no values. And they don't care about values. But they know you're too dumb to understand the psychological, the psychological warfare of morals and values, and that we given that up in the last 20 years. When we decided that we were going to be inclusive to all different mindsets and different way of lives and all that stuff, we destroyed our morals and values. It has now become what is the morals and value of the people or the things or the mindset that you're including, and what do you guys have in common, and what do you guys believe in common, and whatever that is, that's your new morals and values. But when you see like a Christian and a Muslim and their interaction with a LGBTQIA plus member, and then you got to say, hey, I know you guys got Christianity, you have Muslim, and you have your beliefs, but you guys got to find what you agree on. What do you agree on in society? Thou shall not kill. Okay, we agree on that as gays and as LGBTQ community, as Muslims and as Christians. That's what we believe. So that becomes your value now, because it's agreed upon. No matter how dysfunctional and delinquent that you feel logically the behavior of the other people are, and how they live their life and what their principles are, if you all are agreeing on it, and the pressure of the media and society and politicians have you saying that this is what we all agree on, so these are the rules we're going to follow, that becomes your new morals and values. And technically, if you kind of do the pros and cons and logic and biological and what makes sense and what's just what it is and what it is, you'll find that what you guys, the new rules and the new values and the new morals that you guys believe in are not morals and values. They're all dysfunctional, illogical thought process, and is psychologically unhealthy. It means that now everybody's mentally ill. Everybody have a psychological mental illness to believe in things that are not logical, doesn't make sense, doesn't have any true logical value. Okay, so I don't want to hear Republicans. I don't want to hear Catholics. I don't want to hear evangelicals. I don't want to hear Christians talk about values. I don't even want to hear Muslims talk about values. Why? Because to live in America, you have to be civilized with each other. So no matter what your values are, you have to suppress those values in order to coexist with the other citizens in America. So in order to coexist with the other people in America, you have to disbelieve what you believe and what you know to be logical and right in order to be inclusive to the different psychological values or situations that people have in the country that you need to include around you in your community, in your neighborhoods, in your jobs, and your friends, and the person that serves you food and all the other stuff. They bring their lifestyle into the pretty much with the town square, and you have to subdue your values, your morality, your thought process, your logical belief, your spiritual beliefs, or whatever, in order to be inclusive in that environment. So we're going more into anything goes society than we're going to a more stable understanding of how to conduct ourselves with each other, to have a more logical life in how we raise kids and I can populate our country. You get what I'm saying? Because it is about America that I'm talking about. So that what I just explained to you is really, really hard for politicians, podcasters, preachers, rappers, movie stars, all these people to actually find a way to communicate that to you guys. So forgive me for my long banter about that. You know, it took me about a half an hour to get that out, but I think that's what's going on with us. And I think that's why we have so much murders and killings and favor of abortions and confusion of life and lifestyles and who we are and our confusion of our own self-identity. It's all comes from being so far from the basic logic of things that our feelings and emotions and psychological theories have become our lifestyle. And it's not supposed to be like that. You know what I mean? It's things that humans learned in the caveman time, and that information that they learned in the caveman time became how they structure civilization in the Sumerian culture. That's the first human civilization. Sumerian. I think it's Sumerian. I think it's Sumarian. Sumerian. But it's like in close to Egypt and all that stuff like that. You know what I mean? Oh no, more Iraq and all that stuff. That was what was shown to be the first like area of the civilization, first civilized environment. I got a movie called Parastat. You know, it's kind of supernatural movie, but it kind of goes through this in a more, you know, entertaining way. But the information that or interactions that we had in caveman time gave us information that we kept consistent knowledge of, that developed us to be able to be where these are the rules of living and the conducting ourselves and how we eat and how we like hunt for food and all this other stuff and how we interact with each other and the barter and trade structure. And we learned that in the Sumerian culture and the first civilization of Sumerian culture. Fast forward to the colonialist culture, fast forward to our modern day world that we have, is certain things that are just logic interaction. But in the last 40 years, we included like things that were like secrets and taboo and things that we, in our culture, certain people had interaction with, or they kind of experimented with and stuff like that. But in order to be inclusive, we decided you don't have to hide who you love and what you like to do and what your mind set out. And if you like witchcraft, and if you like, you know, this lifestyle, if you like doing this or you like doing this, we want to make it where you don't have to live in the shadows anymore with whatever your behavior is and whatever your likeness is and whatever your culture is. Whatever it is, we want to be inclusive, that you don't have to be ashamed of it, that we're accepting of all things of human being and human interaction. And then by doing that, we made a society where we're walking, talking contradictions, and we're never at peace because we know something ain't right in our marriage. Something ain't right in our relationships. Something ain't right in how we raise our kids. Something ain't right in our education. Something ain't right in how we talk to each other. Something ain't right about how we set rules and productivity. And then we like, you know, and I'll say this for example, and I'll go to continue, let her speak, and so I can analyze what she's saying and we can knock this on out as fast as we can. For example, when we decide that we're in a company with someone, okay, we have, or not even in a company, okay, we're going to accomplish a goal, okay, to make a company. Okay, so what's the average thing that every human being does? We go work a 9 to 5, we work a job. You get what I'm saying? But in learning, if you were to just take a bird's eye view of having a 9 to 5 and having a job, you find out that you're paying your bills and you're going on vacations randomly or sometimes or when it's feasible and everything like that, and you're somewhat enjoying each other, going out to dinner or something like that, or going out with your friends and all that stuff like that. That's the average life of a human being in America, okay? And then you feel like, you know what? I don't want to work for this other person's, and I don't want to spend 40 years making another person's company and their dream and what they feel that is a success to them successful, when I actually have this ability that I don't even use, and it's truly what I absolutely know how to do. And it's really what I'm really good at. And I know how to build a company in that field from scratch. So out of risk and failure and a possibility that you can make yourself broke. We don't even do it. Okay? So, men and women, they're in relationships, and if anybody would kind of get into a mindset to become an entrepreneur or have an individual growth to separate themselves from the workforce to entrepreneurship or ownership or something like that, it takes a lot of aggression. It takes a lot for you to decide to own a house, because that means you got to do some major sacrifices, and you got to be accountable for an outcome that you have set right now, but you won't get it into 30 to 35 years later down the road. So whatever that outcome is, it won't be fulfilled for 2 to 3 decades. So in order to even put yourself in the mindset that I want to own a house and I want to get a 30 to 35 year mortgage, you have to count how old you are, and then you have to say, like, how am I going to overall get this accomplished? You know what I mean? And in that thought process, that advances you out of just being just a worker bee. But the average person, if they was to be really full-throated employee and doing the right decisions with the money that they're making from $18 to $30 an hour, and they was to make right and smart decisions, they'll probably, in 30 to 40 years of working life, if they max out their 401k, if they buy a nice house and be smart about what house you're going in, and be devoted to getting that land and stop trying to flip. You get what I'm saying? Because a lot of people say buy your house in try to get $180,000 house, get enough of the equity in that, and then take that and then go purchase a bigger house in the suburbs and stuff. But those big loans after big loans and refinancing this, and that's what our society has done, and most people lost what they sought out for because they did all that. You get what I'm saying? But the truth of the matter is, when you decide to buy a house, it should be the house that you're going to live and die in, because if you picked well, it'll be about $350,000 of value. So if you max out your 401k, you buy the right house that you're supposed to buy, or when all you get through doing all the flipping and getting new financing and getting another house and leaving one house and go to the next house, no matter what, all in all, you're going to see yourself accumulating a house that's worth $350,000. Okay. So you work your whole life, 40 years. I don't know how many jobs that you bounced around for 40 years, but you work your whole life, 40 years. You're able to retire, or you're able to go into your 60s, late 50s, early 60s, and you have your $350,000 house that you own, and you maxed out your 401k, and you got about $350,000 in your 401k. And then when you look at how much liquid that you can actually put in your hand, you're seeing that you could get about $700,000 when you're in your 60s. Okay? They say you should have about $1.1 million to $1.8 million to survive on from your 60s to death. But that's pretty much what you're dealing with right there. Okay, so $700,000 is the most likely outcome of a very disciplined employee. Okay, so once you do something ridiculous and risky as become an entrepreneur, you're coming out of all that, because now you're putting your money into whatever the business that you're putting it into. So you're putting $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 into that. I'm talking about the average company that you're going to build, that you're going to entrepreneur out. You need to have $300,000 of liquid at the least, $250,000 liquid at the least. If you open up a restaurant, if you open up a store, if you open up a dry cleaner, if you open up a car wash, if you open up a entertainment company, if you open up a rap studio or some production music studio, if you open up a podcast, if you decide to do film, no matter what you decide to do, I have learned, all in all, one thing those things have in common is you got to have about $250,000 to even take it serious or be able to actually execute on it. Okay? So that means you got to give up all the plotting and the strategizing for your 65-year-old life or your 60-something-year-old life or your late 50s or your early 60s life. You have to throw all that to the side for the success of this company, of this entrepreneur spirit, or this thing, this ideal of grandeur and this ideal of capitalism that you have implemented by becoming an entrepreneur and saying that you want to magnify your own value and monetize that. So you have to decide, are you willing to risk $250,000 to $300,000 in order to make yourself? And that journey, and take it from me, that journey is brutal, it's unmerciful, and it's unpolite, and it's uncivilized. Okay? Because you're going to find out you're going to have to interact with other human beings. And what makes companies fail is the inclusion of other human beings. You and your goals and the standard that you feel to execution will be consistent. It will be consistent because you know what it takes. So no matter how hard it gets, no matter how horrible it is, no matter how dark it is, no matter how sad it is, no matter how traumatizing it is, no matter the failures and the losses and the wins they are in the course of it, you're okay with it and you pick yourself back up and you keep doing it. Why? Because you know what the end result goal is. So you know, in order to get to there, it's a possibility I might go through this. In order to get to the end results, it's a possibility I might have to go through what I'm going through right now. So you could tell yourself that. But to make another human being, other people understand that and keep moving forward, that's almost an impossibility. And that's why people fail. That's why corruption comes. That's why things that may be self-sabotaging to the structure comes into play, because now you have other people analyzing what moves you're making and why you're making that moves, and is it valuable for them that you make that move, and they start to evaluate if they could even have enough say in the decision you're making, because how you're moving and how you're dealing with the end goal, that you didn't allow for other people to be the deciding factor of the execution. So I say that only to say inclusivity is disruptive. It's extremely disruptive, because now you have to take into account others' opinions, others' way of life, others' way of thinking. And that may be where the instability, becomes part of the equation. Okay? And I'm saying this because I want you guys to understand we can't be in this life and not be inclusive of people and their life and who they are, because we got friends and family that live and make decisions that we don't care. We love them. That's our family members. That's our friends. And we're here to coexist and love our family and our friends. And if they decide to go into lifestyles or other behaviors and stuff like that, that may not be cohesive to my logic, my morals, my values, I'm deciding that it's best for me to cut myself off from them because something that I don't have to deal with on a day-to-day basis or moment-to-moment basis, but I know I have consciousness that they're like that or they're part of that lifestyle or they conduct themselves in that manner. And that's where you get a lot of, and I'm giving you an example of what it takes and what decisions we're making on a day-to-day basis to let the ideology of inclusive be our guiding light. And I think it's doing a disservice to us as a whole, to tell you the honest God truth. But I don't know the way out of that. I really don't. So I'm just telling you guys, when you're kind of wondering why our world is like this, why we conduct ourselves like this, how do you guys perceive Trump as such an evil guy that you guys would believe that a 70, 80-year-old woman could say 40 years ago, Trump did this to me, and it has no validity to it, and no one heard of this stuff, and it's like, how do I stop a person from accusing me of something when they accuse me of it, and then the system want to use it against me because of how I'm saying this country is corrupt. The judicial system is corrupt. The prosecutors are corrupt. The FBI is corrupt. The CIA is corrupt. The Pentagon is corrupt. The politicians are corrupt. Republicans are corrupt. The Democrats are corrupt. And they not letting you guys take into consideration of how corrupt they are so you guys can make a better judgment. And then the citizens say, we don't care if they're corrupt. They hate you. I hate you. So we're all corrupt to destroy you. And that's what civilization has, that's what America as a whole has decided to do to Trump for 10 years now. Shame on us. You don't have an individuality. That's what it tells you. That's why I came up with Individual Perspective Podcast. I've been doing this since 2008. Individual Perspective. You can go to Apple Podcasts, you can go to Spotify, you can go to SoundCloud, and you can see Individual Perspective episodes in 2015, 2016, 2017. You can see the pandemic podcasts that I've done under Life Choice Health and Wealth Podcast. Life Choice Health and Wealth Podcast. I did that with my great brother that I call him my brother. His name is Khalil Biddle. We did a great podcast through the pandemic to show you guys, talk to you guys about the corruption all the way through all that stuff. You get what I'm saying? So I'm not just talking about this out of nowhere. The reason why I know how to communicate it so well and have a great ideological process of having an individuality and having an individual perspective is because I'm well versed in this. And what I mean by individual perspective, an individual perspective forces you on subconscious to vet your mama, your daddy, your sisters, your siblings, your friends, your community, society, your heroes, movie stars, actors, musicians, politicians, your favorite person in the whole world that's your mentor. It makes you vet everything they say, every mindset that they have coming out of their mouth, they have in their action, in order for you to vet if it has validity to it, if it's the truth, if it's the is and the be all, and it's the actual right decision to make and the right way to go and the right logical mindset. So you vet everybody. Nobody is spared from your vetting. Nobody. No matter how much you love them, no matter how much they mean to you, you vet everybody. Everybody's a liar until you vet them to see validity in what they're saying. To find validity in what they're saying and see if it totality works out. That's the truth. You know what? I'll take your advice. I'll take that advice. Okay, I believe that. Yep, that's exactly what happened. Yep, I know you telling the truth because I vetted you. Individual perspective says, in order for you to have the right mindset, and a right individuality, and that you're not a puppet or you're not a slave to someone else's perception, someone else's perspective, someone else's way of life, someone else's theory, and that you have made your life that other person's or culture or whoever's theory, and that's how you live your life, and you're taking slings and arrows, and you're taking wounds because you're upholding somebody else's thought process that's not your own. Individual perspective says you vet everybody, so whatever decisions you make, whatever you come out your mouth, whatever you do, you can live and die with that knowing, I believe that's the best I could do, and I have no regrets. That's what an individual perspective is. So when I'm analyzing all this stuff, when you guys watch all my other podcast episodes, and like I said, I got hours over here. But if you click the link in the bottom of the description area, you'll see that I got a link to Rumble, where hundreds of hours over there, because that's what I normally do. I just came over here to kind of make sure that I could gain an audience and really get myself ready, because I do want to do an 18-hour election day podcast, and the only way I'm gonna be able to do that is I'm gonna need your help and your support. So guys, click the links, support me in whatever way you can. You'll see my email, the Apple Podcasts, not the Apple Podcasts. You'll see the Cash App, the PayPal. I'll put the Venmo on there too, and then you'll see the membership under locals also in there. So contribute any way you can, $1, $2, whatever you can give. We got to run it up, okay? So let's get to her. Let's analyze the situation and knock this on out.
How hopeful, how energized, how organized we all are. And we need that. We need all of you, because right now, as you know, this race is close. It's too close for my liking. And I came out here to Michigan because I am someone who takes her own advice to heart. I know that if we want to help this country finally turn the page on the politics of hatred and division, we can't just sit around and complain. No, we've got to do something. If we want to usher in the next generation of American leadership, we have got to do something. If we want to elect someone with a character that is worthy of the Oval Office, someone with the strength of heart to guide our country to a better day, we have got to what? And that someone, of course, is my dear friend Kamala Harris.
So, yeah, like I said, one of my biggest issues, one of the issues, and I'm going to be very objective about this and very open, and I'm going to stop trying to watch what I'm saying, so I won't. I know that I'm over on YouTube and I don't want to get demonetized, so certain ways that I don't want to communicate to do that, but it still leaves a lot of room for me to be blunt and honest. One, no one likes the masculinity of Michelle Obama. She's like a dude. I don't know how Obama allowed her not to be feminine around him so much, because it's a conflict. She does it so naturally that she walks around like that. Her attitude is like this all the time. It's this fake connection with other human beings, but it's this boss babe mentality overall. And if you get her to do a speech and give an ideological point of view of how she sees everything, she's going to give it to how her intelligence tell her, or what her brain and her hypothesis tells her about her evaluation of what's going on, or the political race, or the election 2024. And I can understand what's going on here. This is ridiculous. So let's walk through this. You know what I mean? So that's what she's doing in this speech. She's kind of walking through and I can see it already, but I'm seeing what's natural and what's fake and what's a actual trying to how can I say, trying to show face or have some kind of connection with the people. That's very, oh, hi, I love you, girl, you 100 years old. All these weird like moments of, oh my God. Oh my God. These kind of ways, this is the best she can do in connection to people. But who she really is the masculine way she presents herself, how she walks, how she talks, how she commends, and when she starts to actually like divulge her and communicate her perception of things. You know, like I said, don't forget Michelle Obama is for the LGBTQIA community. That stops her from ever having any communication or that she has the upper hand or that she has the moral compass and a moral valuation of how we should be moral or have morality. You're for the most degenerate, delinquent stuff in the country, okay? In addition to that, she's okay with local prosecutors prosecuting people under fraudulent cases and stuff. In addition, that a grand jury can indict a ham sandwich. She's okay with that kind of stuff. What do I mean by that? A grand jury is not supposed to be able to indict a ham sandwich. Why is it called the grand jury? Because these are not supposed to be like a random jury. It's not supposed to be like a random jury that you pick. A grand jury is not like a random jury that you pick for a case. They're better than that. What that means that they are very intelligent. They're very objective. And when you pick them and you question them, you do it like how you would do a trial. You go through hundreds of people to make sure that you pick the right mindset for a grand jury. What's supposed to be the grand jury mindset? Very wise people, very intelligent people, very well-read people, very objective people. People that can actually look at a situation and evaluate it under the factual stuff it is. Then you're gonna make them. Then they gotta take on a class or a discussion with the judge to make them to show that they do understand objectivity. If they understand that, then you put them on the grand jury. Okay? Why? Because a grand jury number one priority is to be the checks and balance of a prosecutor. So once a prosecutor brings a case to a grand jury, the grand jury is supposed to look over that case, look at the evidence, look at what the information that the detectives and everybody is giving them up to that point when they brought it to the prosecutor, and the prosecutor takes the evidence to the grand jury. The grand jury say, you know what? Absolutely, the most likely this guy or this person really committed this crime or committed this infraction. And you have every right to prosecute them or indict them. We can indict them so they can explain themselves in the court of law. Okay? That's how that's supposed to go. But if a prosecutor brings some corrupt, crazy stuff that's like more of an emotional hate towards the person, then the grand jury is supposed to say, why are we looking at this case? And then the prosecutor said, because of this. Well, that's not a crime. And what you just said and how you just brought this to us, that's your perception of how you see that. The factual evidence is this. There's 12 checks here that says $35,000. Why are we bringing this guy? Why we're indicting this guy for paying a porn star for $130, and we have 12 checks to this law firm or this lawyer that says that this client gave him $35,000 a month for 12 months, equaling up to $420,000, and you're saying that $130,000 of that is your perception that he paid the person to do an NDA on a person he had a sexual interaction with to keep her mouth closed about, that's not a crime. And he had a lawyer do it. So if they put legal fees in they ledger for payout, it's a lawyer that did the NDA with the actual porn star or person that they had sex with. So that's a lawyer doing a law situation for a client, and then that lawyer sent the invoice to the company. The county department wrote in the ledger that this is legal fees paying back to this person. They cut the checks out, and then the client decided to sign a check. Why are we in here about to indict the person? Because the theory from the lawyer is that partially of the $35,000 a month that he was given for 12 months was for repayment of him getting a porn star to do an NDA, which that's legal. Why are we in here with this case? That's how a grand jury was the thought process. So when we hear, the public hears that Donald Trump has been indicted by New York for hush money transaction, and then we find out that if he paid that lawyer not $130,000 check, they say, well, all that money was for him to pay for taxes. Well, that's let's go crazy. $260,000. So you don't got no evidence of him cutting him a $260,000 check or $30,000 check. You got checks that equals up to 12 months of a lawyer retainer fee for $35,000. Why are we here indicting this person on a fraudulent disclosure in their account books that they put a payment of NDA to a porn star as a legal fee in the county department's ledger? No matter what you guys think is true, or no matter what we think is true, a lawyer sent the invoice to the company accounting kick out a check to a lawyer. The client signed the check to validate the check, and it went to a lawyer. So all we know is that that's a lawyer situation. So if they put in the ledger book as a legal fee, we're going to prosecute this person with 34 counts because they put in the ledger legal fees, and the interaction is a whole legal situation with a lawyer and a client. Why are we in here fighting to indict this person on this situation? That's how intelligent at the basics a grand jury is supposed to be. But you had a whole grand jury corrupt because our culture and the way that we deal with how we prosecute each other and how we find what the truth is that a grand jury can indict a ham sandwich. We're done, y'all. Our society's done. And maybe if you send Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, Vivek Ramaswamy, if you send these guys in there, and Robert Kennedy, I don't want to forget him, if you send that group into our government, they will clean house, restructure it. You'll have a phenomenal country, and you'll see what a real good America looks like. And we haven't seen that in I could say about 100 or so years now. Excuse me. So I only say this because that's what we're voting for. That's the bigger picture of all this other stuff. Joe Biden's campaign manager hates Trump. Joe Biden hates Trump. Kamala hates Trump. You get what I'm saying? A lady on Twitter hating Trump in 2019. She got a picture with him at a gala. She starts to say like he did something to her in 2019 because she hate him being a president and running for president. So she tried to defame his name. Biden's campaign manager takes his law firm, tells them to partner up with the lady, and then that lawyer in the law firm talks to the actual AG and the Attorney General of pretty much Attorney General and the District Attorney of New York. They put in a law that there's no statute of limitations to certain crimes and stuff for 2 years. So they worked 2 years to find a way to prosecute and indict Trump on something somebody said that he did to them 40 years ago. He's like, I ain't never met this lady like that. And because she got pictures with me at a gala, I took hundreds of thousands of pictures that day. I took thousands and thousands of pictures that day. I don't know. And that's this person and me having a relationship. I wouldn't even touch her. I'm not attracted to her at all. She ain't my type. They prosecute him because he says that. You get what I'm saying? And they say he defamed her name because he said that she's ugly and she ain't his type. So they prosecute him. They got no evidence that he actually messed around with her or did anything to her. So they made it a civil indictment. So because he defamed her, they gave her $3 million. And then a reporter asked him a question about the case. Say, oh, you've been found guilty of sexual assault, civilly for sexual assault. And he said, I never met that lady before. I wouldn't even touch her. I wouldn't even mess around with her. And then they said that he defamed her again, and they gave her $83 million. Tried him again, convicted him with the jury of his peers of New York. That's how radical the people in New York is. And they found him guilty, had to give her $83 million. Now, he had to put that money up for collateral. So he actually had to get to $83 million in order for him to take it to the appellate court and the appeals court and the state Supreme Court and the U.S. Supreme Court. He had to keep the money in collateral in order to take it up to that. So that's what's going on with it right now. In addition to that, they say that he overinflated the value of his company. What, for example, Mar-a-Lago is a big property estate that he has, a golf course and everything that he has in Florida. Florida, actual state, puts the value of that actual company over $1 billion, $1 billion to 1.5, 1.8 billion in the high $100 million figure area. Okay, that's what Florida put the value of that state. The people that regulate it, the people that actually set the value, when you get a value, when you get a house evaluated by the state to say what the value is, or even when the bank comes in and everything and they evaluate the worth of that property or that house or something, that's what's done. And the Florida state says that property is in the high $100 millions to $1.8 billion. That is state. New York Attorney General and the District Attorney, they say the property is only worth $15 million. If you know what Mar-a-Lago is, y'all know. Ain't no way in the hell, people. Trust me. If that was worth $15 million, a lot of people that want to purchase it right now. So they didn't go to Florida government to ask them, what do you evaluate this property or this land as? They went to how they perceived it was worth. And they did that to all his properties. And a judge, it's not a jury, a judge found him guilty before the trial even started. After the trial was done, he fined Trump $456 million that he had to pay to New York Treasury. So Trump decided to take it up to the appeals court and the appellate court and the Supreme Court. Okay? But in order for him to do that, they wanted him to put $456 million up for collateral in order for him to do it. It's such an extreme amount that the appellate court said, nope, only put up 170 million. That's crazy. So he put up 170 million plus the 83 million. Remember that. So he got about $300 million that they just holding until he fight the cases up through the actual process. When it's all said and done, even with the Washington, D.C. trying to prosecute him for taking his own documents as a president, when it's all said and done, then he fight these cases and win these cases or fight them through, and we see how it all ends. You will find out, in order for you to have your true freedoms and be able to be a true American with true freedom, it's going to cost you $1 billion. Because if Trump wins everything and he fights this all the way through, he's a real free American, more than any of us. We're scared of prosecution. We're scared of indictments. We're scared of the big bad wolves of the police precincts that's right down the street from us. And we live in that fear that we got to pay for it if we come out of that fear. So just keep that in mind when they start talking all this crazy stuff, that it's context that they're not communicating to you guys. And I'm here to give you an individual perspective, to give you that context. So let's let her go. Freezing up a little bit here, so let me let it catch up.
And Michigan, I am so hopeful about the energy and poise and joy that Kamala has injected into this race. And if you know Kamala like I do, that's no surprise. I mean, think about it. No one could have predicted the way everything would have unfolded this summer. And yet, in a critical moment when our country needed her, Kamala couldn't have been more prepared to meet that moment. And she's met it every single day since. Yes. Oh, she's filling arenas in a way we haven't seen for years. She's building a remarkable campaign in record time, dominating.
They say, oh, she's filling arenas like we haven't seen in years. Y'all watched it for 10 years. All over this country that Trump did it. But it's a propaganda, psychological warfare. And one of the things that they all on phone calls and conference calls and they talking to each other, their strategy is to belittle Trump's like crowds and his actual momentum of the people that support him in the different like stadiums and stuff that he fill out, make it seem like it don't exist, and they're doing it for the first time. And what she's doing with arenas is the most important thing, and it's the first time they're gonna really cover like great like stadium. So she's trying to trigger Trump with that comment saying we haven't seen, she's packing stadiums from years. Nobody has done this but Harris, so this must mean that she's a great candidate and the people want her. Liar. But look, she does it, she's like a man. Lies. And that's the angry vagina in her. Okay? I'm being really mean right now, but I have to. So women, please forgive me. That's her hormones. That's her menopause. That's her mental illness of her state of being a woman. Her state of how she see that she's an ant compared to a real man, a dominant man. And that she could never be the value of a Donald Trump. And it's her anger of how we look at her, even her husband. That he has allowed, okay, I know you feel that I became such a high value to the American people and you don't have that kind of value. So we're going to do this. And then that's why they elevated her even as the first lady. You get what I'm saying? And how people look at her, they give her so much elevation, and that elevation is almost like propaganda and mind control to make us give her the respect that we give President Obama. And that's all. It's not natural, y'all. Y'all got food into that. You got tricked into that. You got manipulated into that.
Her opponent so thoroughly in the debate, he was too scared to face her again.
I covered that debate. She ain't mollywopped him. She ain't did nothing. She was ridiculous, and she was a failure in it, and she did nothing but lose that. It was bad. I do a detailed analysis of it. I walk through everything. You can go click on the link at the bottom in the Rumble link, and you can go over there and you watch it. I did a detailed analysis of that. She actually did really bad, but the narrative is she did really good. She's so great. She destroyed him. She cleaned him up and blah blah blah. But it's all a lie. It's all a lie. I'm telling you guys, I get triggered by Michelle Obama. I didn't disclose that, but I'm gonna let you know right now. I get triggered by Michelle Obama. I don't like her masculinity. I don't like her manness that she looks like, and she carries herself like a man. It's weird. It's crazy. I don't like no senior citizen like her walking around with like 12 foot of weave going down to her back. I think it's weird. I think it's crazy. I don't like that she's so arrogant that she thinks she's the value of a Melania Trump, where we want to look at her. You know what I mean? Like she got a look that we find that we want to sit here for 40 minutes and look at and listen to her voice. I don't like that she thinks it's okay for her to think like this and have that she don't even check herself on this stuff. That she just kind of arrogantly act like, oh, I'm attractive. I'm the greatest. I'm the best woman in the world. It's like, dude, it's just like y'all worship me. Don't y'all love me? Y'all better listen to what I'm saying. Y'all better do what I'm saying because I'm the best. I'm the most reliable person for morality and values. And you need to do what I tell you to do. And she's the most destructive, delinquent, degenerate person in the world in the things of what they actually favor and they support and they advocate. So much errors and dysfunctionality that goes with Michelle Obama, I get triggered, okay? Now, normally by now, I'm starting to say a lot of B words, do some really relentless communication, but I'm trying to be civilized about this interaction. But I want to be honest with you. I want to be objective with you. I want to be individual perspective with you. And I want to let you know that I'm triggered, okay? So if something does slip out, I already divulged I'm triggered by Michelle Obama.
I am so hopeful about the energy and poise and joy that Kamala has injected into this race. And if you know Kamala like I do, that's no surprise. I mean, think about it. No one could have predicted the way everything would have unfolded this summer.
That's a lie. They could predict everything that go this summer. I'm sorry for it sticking like that, but I don't really care about it sticking on her. I do. I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen again. I was looking at Steve Bannon. He's out of jail and he was getting a press conference. So we're going to do a report on that. But I was looking at that. There's so much stuff going on. But look, of course they perceived it. Biden wasn't supposed to be arrogant and run for a second term. Whatever happened to him in 2020, he caught COVID. Something happened to him. I think in addition to COVID, something physically happened to him additionally. And it actually made him where they had to keep him in the basement. They had to actually make him not do much because it would have been noticeable. So they got him through that whole thing by managing the pressure that was on him. And he thought probably he was really messed up too. So he was okay with, yeah, I'm gonna transition this off when we run for re-election and everything like that, because there's no way I'm gonna be able to make it through this. You get what I'm saying? So that was already a great situation leading to the actual election of 2020. he ended up getting his health back, and whatever stuff that they were doing to him to kind of get his body back or get his senses back and get his functionality back. And sometimes he felt real good and he felt really great, and it was starting to really play a factor that was some of that illness and some of the situation that happened was going to be part of his everyday existence. And that kind of let him know going into the second and third year that, I'm not going to, this might not be good for me to run again. Well, not for him. They felt like it may not be good for him to run again, but he felt better than he did in 2020, and leading into the inauguration day, he felt good about his health and everything. He had a few months to recover, and he felt good. And they felt like, nah, man, you losing your step. You're not as good as you think you are. But he felt good, so he decided, I'm going for re-election. I can win this race, re-election. And he went in there, and then the political party felt, and Obama and them, they felt like, man, dude, you looking crazy. You got to stop. This is going to look bad. It's going to turn out really bad. And then he kept going. So what they did was they set a trap for him to embarrass himself. And that's what the debate came in. So he embarrassed himself. Now to the world, they kind of know that you're not as sharp as you think you are, or that you perceive yourself to be. And it made the Democrats and the party and the voters turn against him, because they gave him 14 million votes to the primary. So he was winning hands down. Okay. So now the pressure's on for you to move and you to leave. But why? Because it was already perceived that you would step down even in your first term. This was already agreed in the party. It was already agreed with him and Kamala, but he decided to go further and be arrogant and keep going and try to get reelected. So they had to smack him in his head and say, hey, you're going to do what we tell you to do. And that's why Kamala's the president. Vice President Kamala Harris is running for president now, okay? The situation of that, she only been running for president for 100 days. 100 days, y'all. And y'all about to give her like the presidency because she cheated. So they cheated with that. I have total confidence they're going to cheat again. I'm already seeing them burn up ballot boxes. They in Pennsylvania, just as we were talking, they actually shut down the voting line. It was so long. They shut it down and act like it was an emergency situation that was going on at the facility that somebody had an emergency that they shut it down. So they shut down on voting. I'm pretty sure it's going to be big tomorrow or later on tonight. So, and this is not only this. It's so much stuff going on with the ballot box. They got thousands and tens of thousands of ballots. Said somebody poured gasoline in the actual ballot box and burnt the whole ballot box up. You don't know who those voters are. You don't know how to contact them so they can place their vote again. You just don't know. So they might, to be fair, they might have to tell everybody in that area to vote again. Another place in Delaware, they shut that stuff down. I'm telling y'all, it's so much stuff going on because they wanted to do this early voting stuff. The problem with early voting is, what if majority of everybody in the country votes early? What if the majority of everybody in the country vote early? The tactics that you would need to do in early voting, on voting day, or like the mail-in ballots, you got to do that to the early vote now. You got to cheat. You got to destroy the ballots. You got to do all kind of stuff because you can't monitor those, or the monitoring that you can do is you can't do the amount of change that you want to do. So you start to implement liberals burning up like tens of thousands of ballots and stuff. It's so much stuff is going on. So trust me when I tell you, when she just tell you that they couldn't perceive what will happen to take the election from Biden and give it to Kamala, they absolutely can. But she's saying that. So if you think it's corrupt and you're a supporter of hers, you will check yourself and you'll say, yeah, you're right. We couldn't perceive that it just happened out of nowhere. Yeah. We're so lucky to have Kamala come save the day. This is why I get triggered. on men look at women like this.
And yet, in a critical moment when our country needed her.
Because she's trying to handle you. You know, like men we don't argue. We don't like to bicker. Women get all stressed out about stuff that goes on in life and stuff. We're stressed out too. We don't like what's going on either, but somebody got to have a cool mind so we can play the field. See what's the way out of this? What's the open hole? What's the crack in the ceiling? What's the crack in the crater to find a way out of this? That's what we kind of keep our mindset at. So that's why we don't freak out because everything is so detrimental. We have to perform in that horrible environment. So no matter how detrimental it gets, no matter how crazy it gets, no matter how horrible it gets, no matter how damaging it gets, confide in your man and allow, or men, your father, your brothers, your husband, your boyfriends, whoever the men in your lives, friends, confide in them to find a way out of the situation. And sometimes, no matter how great you are as a woman doing in your career and your life and all that stuff like that, you still need strategic analyzation from a man. You get what I'm saying? Men, we bounce interaction of people off of women. We say, what do you think about that guy? What do you think about that lady? What do you think about this deal? And we see what the woman has to say, and we almost doing like what a movie does. We put a trailer out to see what's the perception from the actual viewers. Do we got support? Will you come see this movie? Will you support this movie? And that's what we do with the women in our life. We're ready to do something. We're pretty much making a decision on it and making a conclusion on it. But we want to see how you feel about it and see if it's favorable in support to you. Not that we won't do it or we will do it. It's that we're going to use the evaluation of how you perceive it as how the populace situation would be in the conflict of that decision. Okay, I know that's a lot, but just to tell you, I'm triggered by her masculinity and her trying to handle people. But I got to remember she's talking to black women in that audience, and you know, it's like talking to dumb people. You know what I mean? That's how she looks at it. It's not me. Shit, I'm just giving y'all the data on it. And if you pay attention, see, you guys got to understand, I analyze you in a way that she analyzes you. Why? Because I'm analyzing the things that she's saying. I know the events that she's saying and what the documents say and what the actual real evidence and factual data of that situation that she just communicated. I know it. So when she says something, I know if she was telling the truth or lying. If she was trying to manipulate or something, I know it because I already know the truth. It's not like she's telling me something that I got to go research. I already know it. I know everything she's talking about. So when she says something to people that's very blatantly a lie and is common sense untrue, why would she say something like that? She's a highly intelligent woman. Stafford grad. Her husband's Harvard. They've been the president and the first lady. Like, why would she say something that's a lie and dumb and ignorant and has no validity to it? Why would she say that? Because who she's talking to. They got you in order to lie or say something or manipulate who you're talking to. You either fear them because what they would do in opposition would be so harmful to you that you lie to manipulate, or you have a pity to them that they so sycophant that you just lie to them to just say, shit, you gonna believe anything I say? I can say whatever I want. I want to persuade you guys. I want an agenda going. I want a psychological profile going. I want you guys to move and operate in the way that's valuable to me. So I'm gonna say this, and you're gonna believe it because I'm me. So when I say I get triggered by her, not only her, but I really get triggered by Michelle Obama because she should be in a goddamn kitchen making some cupcakes. That's the problem.
Kamala couldn't have been more.
Not all women. I just feel all women got to survive and they got to figure it out and they got to try to get it with a guy and get under a guy's leadership and something like that. But Michelle Obama got a great leader. President Obama. So she shouldn't be doing no press. She should be refusing to go and do speeches for, what you call it? She should be saying, I gotta have dinner at home for Barack May. I gotta make sure I'm cleaning or vacuuming the house or some stuff. She should be doing something of a supporting matter. And maybe this is a supporting matter for President Obama, that he wants her out here like this and stuff. But for me, I think she should be a demurred, feminine, beautiful, respectful presentation and advocate for President Obama, and she should keep her mouth closed and be there to work a room, to give him a bigger Netflix deal or some Disney deal or some crazy stuff. Work the room. Don't come out here lying to the people, because now we get to analyze who in the hell is in front of us. So you did it, and I'm analyzing who the hell is in front of me. So everything I'm saying in this podcast is your fault. It's not me. Not me. I'm a free American citizen, and I have to put you in perspective, because most people are not.
Prepared to meet that moment, and
Come on.
she's met it every single day since. Yes. Oh,
Trying to let this catch up with us so it won't freeze.
she's filling arenas in a way we haven't seen for years. She's building a remarkable campaign in record time, dominating her opponent so thoroughly in the debate, he was too scared to face her again.
Yeah, I don't believe that. Like I said, go into my Rumble link, and you'll see that.
She's putting herself out
She
there
looked terrible.
fearlessly, facing down even her harshest critics. She's seeking out Republicans to find common ground. And unlike her opponent, she's not ducking interviews or cowering in safe spaces only with fawning audiences. No, she's showing us what a sane, stable leader looks like. She's not losing her train of thought or stumbling over her words. And she's doing it all with vigor and with grace. That's because Kamala Harris is a grown-up.
Yeah, that's that masculine. He's a grown up. You can grow up. Go get a job. Go do this. Blah 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 blah. You go like grown up. Like quit playing video games. Blah 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 blah. You a scrub. You better level up. Blah 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 blah. It's just the same energy that you guys hear. It's the black magic. Black boss babe energy. No thank you. No thank you. You know what I mean? And she could do that because you guys got to understand, they got a mansion in Martha Vineyard. They got a mansion in Washington, D.C. They got a mansion in Hawaii. And they got a mansion in L.A. Okay? 4 mansions. Okay? They own yachts with billionaires. Jeff Bezos. They got a best friend, got a big yacht, big giant yacht. They own all the time. All the time. You get what I'm saying? Anytime that President Obama or anybody want to travel they do a private jet. They don't mess around and do no ignorant loser stuff like regular American people. They so highbrow over y'all. You know what I'm saying? That's why she can sit here and judge. A grown up is responsible. You a piece of shit ex-first lady with your husband, an ex-president, and when y'all walked out of that presidency, if you were lucky, you was worth $15 million. Because of who you are, and the people made you president, and the first black president, that's a very valuable asset in the market. Netflix and everybody else gave you deals. for the last 8 years that you've been making deals and getting the benefit of who you were in historical value, you only able to sum up maybe, if you lucky, a couple $100 million. When it's all said and done and y'all on y'all deathbed, you probably would get up to about $500,000. $500 million. I'll say $500 million. When it's all said and done. When y'all work so hard, y'all did so many deals and whatever the hell y'all doing to gain that value and that economical power that y'all getting, when it's all said and done, you probably will be only worth $500 million. And you want to compare yourself as adults when Donald Trump has put thousands, tens of thousands of families into the middle class, into the higher middle class, working within his companies and his different properties and restaurants and his hotels and his golf courses and all that stuff. Tens of thousands. Go look it up. He actually employed 60,000 people the last time they count when he was going in the 2016 election. 60,000 people. He put those kids through college because they paid for their kids' college with the salary that they were getting from his company. Okay? He has done this for the last 30, 40 years. 50, really. 1970 to now, because it's 20, so I'll say 50. 50 years he's been that economically valuable to public and different citizens in the country. You want to talk about being responsible and an adult? That man got families depending on him not to mess up. Depending on him trying to figure out a way to keep companies and buildings and golf courses and hotels and different things that he opened to keep it alive. He got to do whatever it takes to have the solutions for that stuff. Talking about an adult? When Donald Trump dies, he's going to die with $16 billion of liquid in assets to your piece of shit $500 million when you're dead and gone. You want to talk about adult? See, people they hear this rhetoric from ignorant people like this, and they got to go Stanford. They're going to Stanford, so obviously it's a certain part of ignorance in their ideology and to their education that they not even analyzing it like I'm analyzing it. Trump ain't helping me in my life. He ain't giving me no major support when I absolutely need it. But I know a person that ain't in my way, that ain't trying to do stuff that's gonna trickle down and hurt what I'm trying to accomplish in my life. And that's what President Obama, Michelle Obama, Kamala Harris, and all these other knuckleheads, this is what they've been doing heavily in the last 16 years. I didn't know that when Trump became president that you were actually going to see like a hole in the vacancy of entrepreneurship and money movement and all that stuff. Like you got a actual 4 years where people they were like hopeful to like using money because he was the president. So you had investors, you had people with the capitalists, and they wanted to invest and they wanted to like make their money work for them more. So they start to actually let that money come down to the little people to start investing in what we were doing. And man, we were right there. We still there. I did a lot to bring us all the way here. But it's harder. Every step is extremely harder because people are in self-preservation mode right now. And that's how wild Kamala and President Obama dealt with money and dealt with the concept of capitalism and the concept of upward mobility. It's so horrible that they made people start to try to protect themselves because of inflation and all that stuff, that people just they don't want to harm themselves. So deals and interactions that they had, they kind of broke off and did something like pretty, how can I say, a lack of integrity. They were willing to be disloyal and be just have a lack of integrity in business that they implement a self-preservation situation in the midst of something that they were supposed to execute on. And then if you're not smart enough to have a way to pick it up and keep moving the ball forward, then things fell apart. So that's why you see a lot of people lose their companies, lose their houses, lose everything, because people start to preserve themselves in the midst of something that was already planned in a goal that was already projected to be into motion. So I only say this because don't talk about Trump ain't no adult. Y'all kids compared to what he had to do, what he had accomplished. Oh, his father gave him $400 million. Well, you say he went to bankruptcy 6 times, right? So in order to do that, he had to show that he had a major loss in some business, or that he had to sell businesses, or he had to do some kind of, like, he literally had to go out of business and claim bankruptcy. So you have to show some kind of economic loss that is evident in order to claim bankruptcy. So that $400 million got lost 6 times, according to you. But no matter what happened to the $1 million his father loaned him, and he made it into hundreds of millions, or the $400 million that his father loaned him and he made it into billions of dollars, he lost it. And all we know for sure that he actually claimed bankruptcy. But no matter how much times he claimed bankruptcy in 1980s and the 1990s and the early 2000s, in 2024, he has no debt on his companies. He owns every property that he has. And his bank account is in the $4 to $6 billion liquid, and the assets and buildings and everything he knows is another $10 billion. That's what we know. He gave a financial disclosure when he was running for president in 2016. He gave another one in 2020. He gave another one in 2024. So you can look at everything he owns, all his property, all the companies he owns under the brand of Trump Organization. You can look at everything that he owns, and all that stuff is his. And he's that rich. And you want to compare yourself to him? It's ridiculous. But look, they say that to you guys because you don't understand how far you guys are from him, and no one speaks logical to you. This is all logic. It's no fanboy stuff. I'm being logical. This podcast is about objectivity, y'all. It's about objectivity. It's not about what favors or what personality or what persona I want to give to the situation, what narrative I want to give to it. It's the truth. I'm not trying to lie to my viewers. I'm not trying to lie to you guys. If you guys ever go look up everything I'm saying, I want that the more you find, the more value you have for me, because I told you the truth.
Lord knows we need a grown-up in the White House.
Said, Lord knows we need a grown-up in the White House. Then who is Kamala and Biden? They're in the White House. Trump ain't been in the White House for 4 years. Who are you talking about? Lord knows we need a grown up in the White House. You act like it's been a long time since you seen one. You got the same people that's running for election is going back into the White House. So who are you talking about? Boy, rhetoric. They know that people get manipulated and they get so stupid. Look. I'm going to say something else too, really. We got 16 years because you got to look at the last 16 years. Okay? 12 of those 16 years were ran by Democrats, were ran by President Obama and all his staff and everybody part of his administration. And I'll say the whole 16 years because there was a lot of stuff that Trump had to deal with because there was still a lot of Obama employees in the infrastructure of the country and the departments and stuff. So they were kind of like not paying attention to him or plotting against him or not listening to his commands and all the other stuff. So you got 12 of the 16 years that you got where President Obama and his staff and his employees are running this country. Okay? So we know when black people run things, this is what your outcome is. Okay? What is that? Okay? If you think everything is good, keep it the same. You know who to vote for. Okay? If you're saying, hey, y'all, we need somebody to run this stuff right. I don't care if they black or white, but look, if they Trump's a whole nother thing. He's a money man. He took risk. He knows the worst decisions you can make with money and the best decisions you can make with money. He has been out there. He risked it. He's not like the Illuminati, able to act like they're risking something, but they're really not risking nothing. They're manipulating you to perceive that they're risking something. Trump is a person that risked and found the solution. And he's kind of telling us this is what we got to do, this country as a company, to stop all this crazy stuff, because this stuff's spilling down to the people now. So yeah, in the worst, I'm just saying, I don't think there's some genius black people that live in this country. I'm telling you, they are phenomenal. They great, wise people, and they ain't running for president though. You get what I'm saying? They not running for presidents. They've been philosophical people. They kind of plotting or running their companies and stuff like that. They're not even trying to run for presidency. They're not trying to run for Senate. They're not trying to run for Congress. They're not trying to run for none of that stuff. No government jobs, anything like that. There's some great, phenomenal black, real leaders, and they're not running for it. So all we have now is government people that get like paid from government taxes, or what they call that, philanthropist stuff. What they call that when you have a nonprofit or something like that. That's who we got running the country, giving us advice, telling us how we got to conduct ourselves and live our lives, and how we got to have our mindset about who we pick as presidents and all that stuff. That's what we got. We got community organizers, nonprofit organization heads, and politicians that their whole life been getting paid a salary from people's taxes and the government taxes and stuff like that in a state, city, or whatever. That's who we got. So I say, if that's the best, and with the blacks, with the Black Caucus and President Obama, and give me a white president. You get what I'm saying? But I'm glad that the white president that I get to vote for is President Trump, because he's a money man and he won't mess around with my money. Okay? He knows how to not destroy a person on the come up, and that's fighting for their own survival and their own name in order to make a invisible group of people richer and more powerful. That's why they don't like Trump, because he's like that. I'm so glad I voted for President Obama both times. I don't regret it. I would have voted for him a third time to make him legitimate. I want that in the history books. I never take it back. I'll never have any regret for it. But if you want me to tell you the vice, the consulting and the actual how can I say, the actual leadership that President Obama been giving to the Democrats and black people for the last 6 years, do I want that to be we're about to get destroyed by the illegal immigration situation. We're about to get destroyed by that. Unrecognizable. And that's something that they deem that has an actual value and it makes sense to them. If that makes sense, man, I don't want none of your support. I don't want none of your advice. I don't want none of your thought process or your intelligence or whatever advice you want to give. None of it. If your advice is this immigration situation, which it is, this is all Obama's making, and it's what he deemed that has to happen for this better utopia that he has in mind. No, thank you. Give me the white person. Sorry to say that. I don't care what nobody say, me being an Uncle Tom or whatever you want to say. I don't care. Ain't no way. I want to be destroyed like this because of some idealism that you're going to get rid of the black people. I mean, you're going to get rid of the white man. You get what I'm saying? So while you thinking that you're going to get rid of the white man, it's backfiring and you hurting black people in the midst of this. They have a graph. Now, let me make my point, because I know I just interjected that I want a white president over a black president, or I want white people heading companies or the country more than I want black people. So that sounds very Uncle Thomish, and it's anti-black. I love myself. I love my skin. I don't have any regret for who I am, how I look, or anything. I don't have that insecurity stuff. But I want to put it in context. I'm gonna play a graph for you guys. They took a data. They did a data analyzation from 1610, and they did to what they knew what the actual population of this country, and then what it is right now, and what is most likely from the people that are here, and what the census says, and the possibility of them having a certain amount of birth from the birth rate that we know about right now. And they kind of say, okay, this is most likely how it would be from up to 2060 that we can actually measure. So they actually took from data that they have from 1610 all the way, historical data from 1610 all the way up to what they most likely will be the outcome of our birth rate to 2060. In addition to that, I want you to understand that the immigration policy is to replace white people, because they're 70% of the population, and they wanted to take that 70% away from them and make them like minorities. So the best way that they could do it is they got to sneak in all the colored people into the country, okay? And in that theory, any immigration situation that pops up that can magnify that even more, so they can have better voters that be for the Democrat Party and all that stuff, they're going to initiate it. So this is not coming out anywhere. It's not coming out of nowhere. This has been the mindset of President Obama for 16 years, and the people that support him, and the people that he developed under his administration that listens to him a lot, and they're still inside our government to this day. Okay, so when I'm saying all this stuff, it's out of context. So the theory is you want to replace white people. This is how it's looking so far. Now you see that white and blacks from the beginning, because of slavery and all that stuff, that's who had the big totality of the numbers that they could kind of see. You know what I'm saying? I want to come a little bit closer so I can look and see. So heading toward the emancipation, the independence, our Independence Day, 1776. You're getting white people going into the millions. You're getting black Americans going into the higher 400, 500,000. Okay? Now that we're officially a country now, you see that it's going up. White people are going into 4, 5, 6 million. Black people are 1.5. Okay? We're going to go all the way to the abolishment of slavery. Okay? At the abolishment of slavery, you got about 3-4 million black Americans. And you have about 30-40 million white Americans. And now you're starting to see the Hispanics, the Native Americans, because Native Americans, they were always here, but they might then become part of the country and been in the census and been in the data until pretty much the late 1800s, okay? So now, as we go, approaching Second War, World War II, and we go into the Civil Rights Bill. We had 19 million black Americans. We had 170 white Americans at that time, okay? Are we going all the way to 2024, okay? As we approach 2024, you got 100, let's say about 200, about 190 white Americans. You got about 40, you have about 47 black Americans. I think that's what it is in 2024. Okay? So now look at that. So let me put that back up on the screen because it just went off. Sorry about that. Okay? So effective of 2016, they perceive that white Americans will be 178 million citizens in the country. Black Americans will be 61 million in the country. Hispanics will be 128 million. And black Americans been here way before the Hispanics came into the country. Okay? Native Americans, we're showing them about 6-7 million. Asians will go up to 35 million. They are almost just as valuable and just as in the population that black Americans are right now. And the others is Arabics, Indians, and all this stuff like that. Inside of with different nationalities, maybe Haitians and stuff like that. Inside of the 26, there's 2 or more. Okay, so just take a look at that. So the theory is all this immigration stuff and all the decisions of President Obama and Michelle Obama, how they think this country should go, and how do we stop the white racist Americans and we get better power over them. The theory is that we just got to get more colored people. Okay, the black people, they too degenerate, they too ridiculous that they're not having babies, they're killing babies, they using that abortion all the time, and we get rid of them. They just killed about 26 million babies over the last 40 years in the black community alone with abortions. So they out. So what we got to do is we need to lean on who's the next highest populated or people that have a more higher population growth. It's the Hispanics. We need to do more to magnify that race. And they put their energy, their money for the last, since even Reagan did this. And since the 1980s, all the way up to now, Republicans and Democrats put their energy and their hope and their pride in the liquid and the actual real financially good decisions behind the up mobility of the Hispanic culture. I know that sounds rough, but that's what they did. Okay? So now that we know that's factually what they did, I just show you data. More data. I'm always giving you data. When you watch Individual Perspective, it's all about objectivity and real. So the theory for Michelle Obama is how much she hate white people. She ain't doing it for you. She ain't her overall goal. You think she don't know these numbers? She knows these numbers. So the joke is on us. They call themselves replacing white people with the overwhelming immigration migrant situation that they were doing, bringing people here from Iraq, bringing people here from Syria, bringing people here from Afghanistan, bringing people here from the Congo, bringing people here from Haiti, bringing people here from the South America regions. They thought that was going to get them a bigger plight over white America, but white America, they don't hate themselves so much where they're going to destroy themselves. So they still having unions. They still having some kind of unified situation where they're birthing and they're raising families, and they still been part of a very strong foundation of this country that even in 2060, they still play a really big factor to the most stable demographic in this country. That's what this shows them. So the theories and what they're trying to pull off, with all the policies, all the who they want you to vote for, and all that stuff, their theory is that they're going to replace the white man. I'm letting you know, ain't no data showing that that's going to possibly happen, not even in 2060 when you're dead and gone. So who you fighting for? You fighting for the world that your kids will live in? Or are you young enough with some backbone that you want prosperity in your own life, in your own journey, and you want to experience prosperity and growth and positive living in your own life right now? You need to make the decisions of what's in your best interest right now. And that's Donald J. Trump, and it sure as hell ain't President Obama and Michelle Obama and Kamala Harris. It sure ain't them. And whatever they ilks are with them. So you better listen to me. I'm giving you plenty of data. So now we go back to the idiot.
Someone with the maturity and fresh ideas to keep moving our country forward. Kamala is the only candidate in this race who is out need all.
I showed you what her little brain can match. What she thinks that moves us forward in the future that she got in mind for you. I just showed you what it was. It is a failed concept, but why she's failing and why their theories and their actual philosophical beliefs and they strategic crazy tactics that they doing, why it's failing, they would be on Martha Vineyard in mansions. They would be in Hawaii in mansions. They would be in California in mansions. They would be in the Hamptons in mansions. Okay, they'd be Washington D.C. in mansions with servants and all this other stuff. They don't have to take on the failure of their ideology or their tactics or their goals and their strategy. They don't have to worry about those failures affecting them. It's gonna just affect you, you dummy.
You and will have your back. Always doing it, holding her head high with herself her entire life. Focusing on lowering. She's not losing her train of thought. No, she's showing us what is.
I'm trying to let the video catch up. I'm having a lot of freezing here. I'm struggle streaming. I got the system against me right now. I must be flagging myself like crazy.
Sane, stable leader looks like.
Let me let this catch up. Sorry about that. Hold. Come on. Catch up. It's a long one. Yeah, so look, y'all, this is why I need your support. I gotta find out what's going on with this though, because this shouldn't affect me that much. I got good internet. And I don't know what this is. I have no idea. I gotta really find out what this is. Starting to think it's the software. Like it's some kind of bug in it, or it's preventing me or something, or it's kind of doing something to stop me from using it or something. I don't know what's going on here. This is weird.
She's not losing her train of thought or stumbling over her words. And she's doing it all with vigor and with grace. That's because Kamala Harris is a grown-up. Someone with the maturity and fresh ideas to keep moving our country forward. Kamala is the only candidate in this race who has outlined a clear set of policies.
That's a lie. But if she tells you that, you believe it, right? That's a lie. Yeah, this got to catch up, man. It's sticking like crazy. And even if I pause it, it normally shifts to where it's supposed to be at. But it's not even doing that. It's just keeping still like this and everything like that. I really need to get to the part where she starts to kind of talk about what black men or what men should be doing to support their women and all the other stuff. So I'm trying to get to that, but I'm seeing an issue here with my bandwidth.
Including focusing on lowering costs and reducing.
And I can't have it like this. This is too disruptive. Too disruptive. Okay, let's see if we can try to get it.
Drug prices for all Americans. Giving tax credits to first-time home buyers.
Yeah, you know what I'm gonna do, guys? I gotta figure out what's doing this to my Why is this slowing my bandwidth down so much? Is that the internet? Is it because even my CPU is too high and it's just ridiculous, you know? So it's gotta be something inside the computer. So guys, we're gonna come back to this. I'll do a second part of this. I'm already at 2 hours. I didn't even know I was at that. So we're gonna do a continuation of this, and I'll pick it up from right where we left off, and we just go right through it, and then I'll just analyze only things that she's saying, and I won't get into more philosophical banter. But I apologize for this, guys, and support us if you guys can. Hit like, follow, subscribe to the channel, Individual Perspective Podcast. Hit that Cash App, that PayPal, all the descriptions. All the links are in the descriptions in the bottom of this video. Please support us any way you guys can. We're trying to level this up, and I really got panels that I want to give to you guys and talk to you guys and really have people come in here and you know, see that my theory of individual perspective really works in the real time. And I communicated with you guys to show proof of the concept, but sometimes you probably want to see me interact with everyday people and everything like that. So I want to do that. So I need your support. I need you guys to support, if you can, Individual Perspective Podcast, links in the descriptions, and click on them and support us and follow, like, and subscribe. Okay. I'll see you guys on the next one. And the next one will be the continuation of this. I'm just going in to just do some computer work to figure out what's going on with this and why this software or the internet or something is not really giving me the bandwidth that it should. So I'll see you guys in a few.
Folks starting small businesses and working families raising our kids. Let me tell you, it is a remarkable plan. And these remarkable last few months